Go ahead and call to order now. Ready for the roll call?
Director Garbra,
Present.
Treasurer Lofton,
Here.
Vice Chair Harris,
Here.
Chair Daly,
Here.
and Director Brown and Spence are absent, and you have a quorum.
Perfect. Well, first, hello, Dumfries. Welcome to this is our third EDA meeting. I'm excited again to continue bringing a lot of great news to the town of Dumfries. We've had a wonderful time. We're going to move on to the adoption of the agenda. But before we get into some of the agenda items, I just want to make sure we let everybody know who's tuning in that at some point we do want you guys to come and sit in and listen to our meetings. This is going to be a very interactive session, and I know that these directors here are excited to get to work for us in the coming months. So as we do the adoption of the agenda, I'm actually going to make a motion because we do have a lot of internal things. I'd like to make a few changes to the new business structure for our agenda. I want to move the item C, D, and E to next month at July 1 on new business, and move the financial policy outline to the treasurer's report, and just keep our last new business items to the working session and starting the process for the bank account.
I will second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved to second. Any unreadiness? Any questions on that?
No.
No. Perfect. Can we call for the question?
Director Garbra,
Yes.
Treasurer Lofton,
Yes.
Vice Chair Harris,
Yes.
Chair Daly,
Yes.
motion carries.
Perfect. Next, we're going to go into the approval of last month's meeting on May 6, 2026. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at the minutes from the meeting? Any questions? Someone want to put a motion on the floor to approval of the minutes?
Motion.
You got to say it louder.
I motion for the approval of the minutes.
Okay, I'll second that. Is there calling for the question? If there's no one readiness, ready for the question?
Director Garbra,
Yes.
Treasurer Lofton,
Yes.
Vice Chair Harris,
Yes.
Chair Daly,
Yes.
motion carries.
Perfect. Next, we're going to get into the presentations. Was there any presentations that we have? We don't have any presentations right now. So we're going to continue moving on to our treasurer report, which we have here.
So I'll just summarize a few things. Obviously, the board financial activity from last month, the board approved a temporary solution to our email address concerns. So we had some board member contributions that there is now a placeholder for a website for the boards, for the EDA, and we have email accounts for our directors. Which should also be on the agenda tonight is a review of an email policy, just so that we are held accountable in our use of the established email. And as we move further in either our working sessions or during these meetings, we can begin to make some decisions about our website and its uses. I will also mention that not necessarily financial activity, but an EIN was established for the EDA, and for the purpose of using this address, Mr. Tabor has been listed as the contact on the address in case there's any correspondence received. So there were a few questions I guess I had about policies as we are forming and moving forward with the EDA. One being the email policy that I mentioned, conflicts of interest. While there is Virginia Code, forgive me, that already covers those things, it would be helpful if the board decided to establish policies related to those. Document retention, again, is a very common one. It can cross different levels there. There is some education and learning obligations as it was suggested by the town attorney, and through some research, just making sure that we're keeping abreast on trends and changes within the industry. The financial policies are very obvious, but accounting procedures, internal controls, how we track revenues and accounts receivables, expenses and accounts payables, and asset management, particularly as we endeavor to acquire real property. Of course, FOIA, again, is one of those matters that's already covered, but I do think it's something that we should consider in the more immediate sense, particularly related to our meeting notices and minutes. Procurement, I always have a tough time with that. Consider adopting and exploring now as we enter into business with partners and sponsors, which is the next topic. So those are some of the things that I think we should really look at now. There's so many examples out there that it wouldn't be very difficult. As it relates to the financial policy, it is merely an outline, but it's something that, again, if we take a deeper dive into, its purpose would be to establish procedures in line with generally accepted accounting practices and other mandates. It falls in line with our CONOPS plan as far as the pillars, which would be building the engine. The investment type is just foundational. And just the value it brings is establishing accountability of fiduciary duties and acts. So I won't read it all because you have them, but our accounting procedures, again, the general ledger, reconciliation, internal controls, who can sign off of what checks or authority levels, revenues and accounts receivables, so many questions such as in preparing invoices for grant funding or other funding sources. How do we recognize revenue? How do we submit cash receipts? Frequency of recording, would that be daily, weekly, monthly, things like that. Expenses and accounts payable, as we grow, you have payroll as a consideration, purchases, even if it's T-shirts and logos and things like that, travel expenses, what procedures for reimbursements, and then who determines expense allocations. Again, just some examples. Document retention, I'll skip asset management because that's just kind of pretty obvious with regards to cash and reserves, but these are, some questions as to how we want to approach those questions. But accounting records, bank records, bond financing records, corporate records, how long do we want to maintain those? A lot of times it's indefinitely, but there are some limits. Gift policies, is cash permissible when we're accepting gifts? Personal property, are there maximums? Again, procurement with regard to RFPs, and partnerships and sponsorships, rules for soliciting, authorizing, accepting, and evaluating those. So that is all part there. Other policies to consider, ones I've mentioned already: investment gifts, cost allocation, in-kind donations, and board member contributions. I do want to mention some proposed EDA funding sources that we already are aware of, but I think, again, it's something that would be good to, specify and ensure that we're all working together, not in duplicity, but Go Virginia, community partnerships and sponsorships, and other funding sources like banks or contacts. I did mention, or by now you may be aware of, some orientation and training for the Virginia Economic Development Partnership. They're a great resource. I've been in contact with one of their regional talent solutions and business outreach team, and actually have a one-on-one with Ms. Barbara Kirkwood-Taylor at the end of the month. She's going to be a great resource to also look at potential funding. And then I have been in contact with some banks, just some contacts I have from the industry, and again, hope to get more details on their requirements. And then lastly, a couple of things I think that would be important for the board to consider in the more immediate future are prospective real estate partners, particularly legal counsel with regard to documentation for bond funding, and even real estate professionals like realtors to evaluate properties. I know the town already has a general database of available real estate, but it would be great for us as well. And then bookkeeping vendors, I think, is something that when the time comes, would be great to consider along with auditing. So unless there are any other questions for me, that is the conclusion of my report.
Perfect. Any directors have any questions so far? My question really goes to the Virginia Economic Development Partnership and some of the proposed EDA funding sources. Which are you saying the Virginia Economic Development Partnership is where you want us to take the EDA right now? Because you did send that. Do you want us to start building? Are you recommending us do that now?
Are you referring to the orientation?
Yeah.
I mean, it's open to anyone in the community to take. So.
Do you mind sharing a little bit? Because I know we got folks watching on what that Virginia Economic Development Partnership is, sort of what they do. Okay.
So the Virginia Economic Development Partnership, as I understand it, is divided into regions, and they provide resources, funding for more direct funding, but then they also partnership with local municipalities in either helping with specific projects and or resources necessary just to learn the ins and outs of running an EDA.
Yeah, and I'm gonna, because I did look them up and I've watched them. This would be great for the town, in terms of the EDA looking at, because they do talent accelerators as well.
Yes.
So they have multiple funding lines that allow us to be able to offer those as services to the community, but also go through the EDA to access some of those additional services. So it really falls in line with what the message we're trying to get across to the community. I like that you put it in there, and I definitely will follow up with that. I do think that this is a good presentation. The only thing I'm going to say is that I know some of these policies in here that are new, and folks who are listening, we're still doing a lot of the internal structuring to make sure this is sound moving forward, and I'm grateful, Director Lofton, because you're putting that, in the forefront now, so we don't have to deal with it, in the back end. I will say that I think that going into the old business, and it's going to be, because this really will take us into the CONOPS. I'm not going to go there yet, but answering some of these fundamental questions in terms of what our rhythm is, whether it be the agenda, but how the public interfaces with us, how we deal with our partnerships, form committees, is one of the reasons why I want to, hopefully, that we can spend a little bit more time today looking at some of that old business to make sure we're all on the same page. I don't have any other questions for this right now. I will ask, are you expecting the reimbursements? Are we being reimbursed here on the website and stuff, or are we leaving that as gifts? I just want to be clear on that while we're on record that way.
So, yes, I appreciate you for mentioning that. So at present, I have recorded this activity as recognized revenue, recorded as a board member contribution and a credit to software fees. However, unless there's a directive here, which I can certainly do, to establish our general ledger, there's just nowhere for the reimbursement. So it could be listed as such, if that's what the board wants to authorize, but that was not the discussion at the time that the decision was made.
Okay, no, that's fine. Okay. Anybody else, any other questions? Okay. Since there's no questions, we're going to just move on to the old business now, because this brings us right into our CONOPS.
Yes.
Before you talk about the CONOPS that we have, can you break down exactly, because we voted on this, but can you just break down, because folks are listening, why we're doing the CONOPS and how this kind of intertwines in terms of the formation of the EDA moving forward?
Sure. So for those of you who are listening, we are establishing a CONOPS, which is basically a shorthand for concept of operations. And so we have a lot of different work streams, whether we identify them them or not, that are part of our work. And so what the ConOps does is really put some structure around the work that we're doing, to make it digestible, understandable, not only for the members of the EDA, but also for the community that we're serving. And so, for example, right, when we think about investments that we're making, right, we're not just going ahead and just peanut buttering investments across a list of projects or things that sound good, but we're being very intentional about where we're putting money and how it makes sense. Those things are part of the structure that is part of our, let's say, our business side of the EDA. When we think about how we are communicating internally, when we think about how we're communicating externally, right, that's a lexicon or a language that we're developing amongst ourselves, one, so that we understand each other, but also that the community understands us. So we're building a language. So those things are part of, let's say, the softer part of the EDA, right, how we communicate, how we integrate with the community. When we think about the other elements, right, outside of business, right, there's an operational piece. There is how we operate internally on a daily, our operating rhythm, our agendas, how we manage ourselves. You just heard Treasurer Lofton speak about how we manage our finances. Those are all part of how we operate. But in order to make it make sense for ourselves, we have to put structure and guardrails around it. So as I go through this concept of operations, which we've already voted for, you'll hear us talk about our philosophy, our vision, our investment types, right? What our operating rhythm is, what our lexicon and our, how we communicate with each other, our principles, right, and how things are structured. And so eventually what we want to do is just make it very intuitive in how we operate. So when one person is working on something, we're like, oh yeah, that's a transactional investment, or that's a foundational investment, or that's something that's gonna, that's a transformational investment. So just developing a way in which we work that makes us able to understand each other. That's what the concept of operations really is. And it's just building a framework and structure for how we operate. Kind of right? A company is very organized into functional organizations and then businesses, and then we have verticals as well. So this is kind of the same concept when you think about the EDA. That's what we're really trying to function as an independent business for the community. So hopefully I did some justice to that.
Perfect. There's a couple of things I want to point out on our ConOps, and then we can move on. It's done nice. Has everybody got a chance to, just real quick, look over it? Yep. Okay. I do want to point out a few things in it, which is really important because, this is the first time the town has had an EDA. I'm the first chair. I'm not, I've always said that to everybody, this is not a one-man show. I've got to ask, got to build a board and make sure that all of our goals are aligned. So one of the things I want to start off with is understanding that our philosophy, and I like this one, and our conduct is going association. There's a guide not based on what we think feels good, but this is actually what's going to be a strategy communicate our work with one another and to the community. The other one. We having some technical glitches here. They turned the mic off on me already. Y'all hear they turned the mic off on me, so now I got to start all over from the beginning. I'm just joking, we're not going to start from there. I do want to talk about the Board of Conduct that we have here. It's real simple, but I do want everyone to take a moment to review that, what she's putting into the ConOps plan, because we want to try our best to represent ourselves. And then there's committee governance, and this is one of the reasons why I decided, and I motioned for us to move the new business, some of those items, to the next meeting, because I felt it was more important for us to make sure that we all were on the same page of committee governance and how we wanted to form some of those things. So I'm going to leave it there on the ConOps plan, and I'm going to open it up for the rest of the directors, because those are the only ones I wanted to point out.
I think it's well put together, and obviously it provides a foundation for us to build off of it, and it ties to what we brought up a number of times, which is best practices. Vice Chair, thank you very much for putting it together.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anything? Go ahead, Evan.
So, I think this is the first time I'm seeing this version from what the board approved before. Is it correct that there were some changes since the last time?
Yeah, that was what was sent around this week or yesterday. The director for you to review. So this is, the framework is the same. The sections are the same. The only thing that we've done and that we've adjusted were really trying to make sure that we were aligning to VEDA, the Virginia Economic Development Association, those guidelines, and making sure that those were consistent, removing some pieces that are not consistent with that and adding and making sure that. So you'll see those amber boxes out that reference VEDA, quotes that are woven in. We've also adopted the philosophy in line with VEDA, which is what Chairman Daly was speaking about. Some other areas, if you'll notice, again, prioritization and sequencing, that framework, that foundational piece, operating rhythm, those things have not changed. There's some information here about agenda, since that has come up. And I know the town attorney has, made some responses on that. So that's based on the feedback of the town attorney. So I've kind of added that there. Yeah, basically, I think everything else from there, lexicon and communications was updated. But yeah, if you did this juxtaposed to the original one, there has been some updates just based on some of the things. And so that's, it's old business in the sense that we've already viewed the framework of it, but we've made an update on it. So, yeah.
I think the only question I have, I definitely had input on this on the previous version that I saw. Like, for example, adding a mission statement in addition to, like you mentioned, this is a business and sort of a business plan. Some of the ways that the investment types and pillars could be viewed. But my understanding of it seems like the agenda process, internal communications. I mean, I guess I get that they are meant to follow, like you mentioned, best practices. I'm not sure if it covers, if this is the appropriate place to include it. Because these items become policies. This is more, as you mentioned, a framework. A framework doesn't necessarily require accountability.
I will say, I disagree. The
Okay.
concept of operations in any, and I adopt that from like a military standard, right? A con ops, how you operate, literally is the operating rhythm. And I think and let me know if I believe an agenda is definitely part of something that's an operating rhythm. And so it's actually core to con ops, how you build agendas, how you engage at meetings, what you're talking about, the topics, making sure that things are structured, right? Like we're not just having random agenda items, that they're following a theme along some structures. And so I would say, if anything, that is one of the top things that belong in the con ops.
Absolutely. I don't disagree that they don't belong here. What I'm saying is I think they are perhaps for enforcement purposes or for accountability purposes. Enforcement, you made that face. No, just from that in my mind is a policy of how we conduct ourselves. What I'm reading here as far as 5-year plans and language that we use with the community is more of how the business itself intends to run. It's almost like deliverables is how I see it. Whereas board member conduct and how agendas are addressed is more of a policy. That's just how I see it. I don't know if that's a legal question. I think two things can be true at the same time. So please don't think I'm saying take it out, it shouldn't be there. I'm saying that we should certainly expound on those items more and more discussion on that part.
I think there's a distinction to be made about a con ops versus a policy versus, a situation report, versus other artifacts. The con ops is really supposed to be a truncated version of things to just operationalize things. So I'm not sure that the con ops just needs to be any more detailed than what it is.
That's not what I'm saying, but yes.
Okay, that's all right. I understood you to be saying that we need more details.
No, no. I think this is good. I just think that those two items, I apologize.
Okay, gotcha.
It's okay. I was just going to say, and perhaps we detail the policy, and then we use the con ops to reference that. If there's a policy, so that's just an easy way. So yeah. So I think that's an easy fix for it, is what I would say. So that would be an adjustment that we make, but we would probably have to go back to the bylaws, which reminds me we need a clean final copy of the bylaws, because I based this on the most recent one that I had, that we can incorporate that into the agenda, and that'll take care of the issue that you have, Treasurer Lofton. Would that work?
Okay. Ben, did you have anything?
No, I don't have anything to add. In terms of, are we moving to the next?
In a minute, I just wanted to make sure if you had anything on the con ops. Okay.
And thank you. Appreciate.
Yeah, I was going to say, excellent job, though. Seriously.
Appreciate the read ahead also that we got it in advance to.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the next, kind of moving into one of the things you also gave us was how to really see some of the projects that are coming in. And I'm going to pull that over to Director Garber right now to talk on the special projects.
Yes, special projects, it's what have been put in place, and thanks to Vice Chair's, there's a dashboard that's being developed, and that dashboard will act as something akin to an intake, but also align with certain guidelines we would need to use in terms of evaluating certain projects as they come in. There'll be more on that, and we'll likely be able to demo that at our next meeting.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah, and if everybody got a chance to see some of the dashboards that she put, that Director Harris put together, it looks really good. I think it's going to be really useful for the town and some of the other residents to see how we're sharing some of our successes as well.
Yeah, can I just make one comment on that? So I will say for the dashboard, that's something that I have built, and as a team, we're trying to work on finalizing to operationalize the con ops. So this is not separate from the con ops. It basically is the con ops in a digital format. It's just making it real. So you'll look at this and you'll be like, this is just basically the concept of operations, but it's just the investments and everything. It's a pipeline and an actual, like, you can view it and approve it and things of that nature. nature. So it's just making it real. So the more we are confirmed on this ConOps, like please make sure that you review it. You have any final updates to it, let's make sure that that's clear, because that's going to be how we move forward, and we hopefully could formally adopt that dashboard by next meeting. Yeah.
That's great. Is there, yeah, go ahead. No, that's fine. I can wait. That we're on special projects. Is there something you want to jump in there on?
So that's one last question. Are we to use this as our guide in how we operate?
What are you referring to?
So as I'm, like I said, I didn't get the email. So I'm seeing some of these things here. So there's language with regard to correspondence, who speaks outside of the board, legal counsel engagement. Like these things, I'm reading this further. I just think this is something I think that should be voted on and expounded. I'm guessing the four of you would probably vote yes anyway, but this is new information that I didn't get a chance to review before now.
We're still in this is just a formation update. So
Okay.
we're still updating the ConOps plan right now.
Okay.
So this is just giving us a strong baseline. So all of those things you put in some of your report, Director Lofton, you're more than welcome to put it in there so we can make this what it needs to be. We try not to get too detailed. I guess that's what Director Spence was saying, so that we could have a separation between policy and ConOps.
Okay.
But I definitely understand what you're saying, but we're not quite through with it yet so that it's ready for the public inspection here. Okay, we're still working through it. But is there anything else on the special projects, anybody? Because if not, I want to move on to the Small Business Committee formation update.
Sure, and just one thing to keep in mind when it comes to the ConOps, because we might have this issue as we go forward with the various types of documents we have, and referring back to the kind of military structure. You have the operations order, which needs to be nested into the policy, which needs to be nested into the law, right? And out of the operations order, you have the fragmentation orders. Out of that, you have concept to operations orders, which is much more truncated. It's like almost a HIP guide, right? And if you need to reference more detailed information, you'll go back to either the operations order or the policy, or even get legal counsel involved, or like in statute if you need to go that far. So it just depends on what we're going to use the actual ConOps for. But I think it has to be something that's I can just have in my back pocket type of thing. As far as the small business, start off by saying so I kind of drafted up a proposal for a committee to be established for a small business committee, and that will have basically elements of an incubator and a microseed grant program under the Dumfries EDA. The mandate of the committee will be to oversee localized virtual incubator ecosystems and administer a microseed grant program. The goal is to cultivate early stage startups within the Dumfries catchment area by providing targeted early stage funding paired with professional mentorship. The EDA can help new enterprises transition from the idea phase to sustainable to tax generating commercial operations. Couple of things about the, should I mention the amounts at this point?
Yeah, go ahead, because we need to let people know where we're trying to begin with.
All right. So we're looking at a grant amount to starting off with a range from about $500 to $2,500 per business. Funding is going to be designated for early stage setup, such as business registration fees, essential equipment, initial inventory, workspace software, or foundational marketing ethics. And of course, this is a draft, so it's open to, further development. Evaluation mechanisms, applicants will be reviewed, so we'll have an application process. They'll be reviewed by the committee. The committee will use some kind of standardized scorecard or process with criteria. And we'll, look at the viability of the business model, things of that nature, before we commit.
Guess somebody got excited.
I think one of the posters fell or something. The structure will be a proposal of a 5-member voting board or committee, and it's really going to be a committee, right? So a 5-member committee that has voting power, and then 2 non-voting student advisors. So the committee chair will be one of the directors on the EDA board, and then the business sector representative will try to get somebody who has a local business that is established, an established entrepreneur. A community rep, this can be a local clergy person or some kind of other person that we deem that makes sense for that seat. A technical representative, a professional counselor or designee. We'll try to get that person to come from the Small Business Development Center that's affiliated with George Mason. And then the 2 non-voting members would be a student from George Mason University and a student from Potomac High School. Potomac High School is the closest high school to the town of Dumfries, and George Mason University is the closest university to the town. I get because I'm affiliated with the George Mason and my image and likeness is up on the website. Students reach out to me all the time looking for different things to do. Both university students and high school students. I get a lot of high school students requesting, hey, can I do something within economic development or within finance or within whatever? So it would be a good opportunity to bring some students in into the fold. All right, and I think I will I guess I'll go really quick the next steps. So the timeline, 30 days, we'll try to put together a charter, formalize the integration of the SBDC over about 45 days. Then in the next 60 days or so, we can start to recruit. Of course, this is all pending us having a vote and getting the draft into some kind of finalized version, and then we can start this process. Then we'll launch this virtual incubator or application portal, and that's it. So I'll stop there.
Thank you. So I'll start with Ben. Did you want to talk on anything?
Yeah, I like it, and particularly the incubator. One of the questions I have is how do we, will we be factoring in some of the trades as well? I know we touched on George Mason and so, but will there be any interface with some of the trades?
When you say trade,
Electricians,
okay,
plumbers, et cetera. And then how do we, and then one other area would be AI in terms of how we can potentially utilize this as a way to upskill business owners in terms of how they can deploy things.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. I view it as I'm speaking for the standpoint in terms of like understanding AI architecture, in terms of being able to direct business owners in terms of how they could potentially develop AI agents as a means to operationalize certain aspects of their business, but essentially build an additional labor force with those agents.
Okay. Noted.
Okay. That's it for me.
Okay.
Dr. Loftus?
So we're talking about assisting startups, correct?
So startups, but I would say it should be inclusive of small businesses,
Sure.
not strictly, unless the board has a different idea, but I would say it wouldn't be strictly a concept.
Right, I mean, you're saying early stage as well.
Could be open
Right,
as well.
right.
Could also be just a small business that's functioning, that maybe wants to grow, expand, and needs additional resources. I think we may want to consider putting that to this.
I think one of the ways that could be narrowed, whether we say a business that's been operating for less than 3 years, for example. That way you're somewhere in that category. Everybody's successes are different, but I think when you're starting to talk about the evaluation mechanism, I think that's one of the things. And then also revenue size, right? We don't want to give a business that nets $2 million a $2,500 grant. I think that would be better for one that's deemed a true small business, typically under 500. So that's one thing. Potomac High School is close to the town of Dumfries, perhaps as the crow flies, but Forest Park is actually where anyone who lives in the town of Dumfries goes.
Forest Park.
Yes, that's the assigned school in the district.
That's interesting.
I know. I took my children there plenty of times, so. And then the only other thing I thought was also Northern Virginia Community College, while it is not, there are certainly a number of students there who probably share the same interest as the students you encounter. But this is absolutely awesome, and I think from a funding source, it's as easy as a sponsorship if we can, if that's not a difficult ask, and it's whether we have the businesses who are applying and assist and understand the process, and or the sponsors who could just say, hey, here's $10,000, do your best. But I do have some ideas for underwriting, so I will certainly share some of those with you with regard to the committee. And I think the committee you identified otherwise is pretty awesome. So thank you.
May I add one more point, if you don't mind? One of the things which is taking place, globally, is that there's a significant transfer of wealth taking place, and that's as a result of one generation retiring and seeking to exit their respective businesses. And so it would be good to get a sense of individuals in the community who are small business owners who are seeking to actually sell their businesses or don't have a succession plan, and how we can find a way to do some matchmaking in terms of individuals outside of Virginia, outside of Dumfries, et cetera, who are aware that this opportunity is there. So we don't have a case where you have X number of individuals who are retiring, can't find a way to sell their business, can't transfer it to their children, and they just shut it down.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah, there's a startup by acquisition process out there that's pretty interesting, and you have these big search funds, right? About them, right? So search funds essentially, pay a person or pay yourself or pay whoever 2 years to go out and look at a whole bunch of different types of businesses and try to, and these are good candidates.
Correct. Correct.
All right. Yes. Great idea.
Yeah, because they can leverage off of seller financing, which is a way to keep them on board and make it easier for the individuals or the institutions that are seeking to acquire that business to do so without it being a major financial lift for them.
Thank you. Director Harris?
I don't have anything to add. I always say, I do have something to add, sorry. Really appreciate it. I saw the one page, the document you sent through, which I thought was amazing. So I did do a little read ahead, and I think it's a great what you're doing. I'm looking forward to supporting however I can. And I would just say, I think I've already adopted that format that you submitted, so I think we all should just use that for our committee one-pagers, and whatever you decide to do for charter, we'll copy your lead. So thank you for it, yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, no, it's great. I would say a couple things. One, to those who are listening in the community, it's important that we're starting out this way because this gets into what our philosophy is in terms of trying to anticipate those needs and customize some solutions. So this goes right back into our ConOps plan. One of the other things I will say, and my question to you, Director Spence, actually is two. The first is, have you already considered an outreach strategy in terms of reaching these businesses specifically?
Not yet.
Okay, and the other thing I would say is that on the reviewing of these of some of these grants, that these micro grants, I think it might be prudent for us to consider if maybe someone from the Planning Commission or somebody from the town of Dumfries who may be working within the business community should be actually, wouldn't mind being on that review board as well. I know there's a number of council persons that have strong interest in making sure that there are certain industries, whether it be childcare, whether it be some of the other small businesses, but they, or even in the trade program, they do have special interests, or they may have constituents that need support. So I think that having at some point that conversation so that we are made aware of what those needs are and who they are, will only benefit our relationship with the council and with the town. So let's try to see if we can get at least somebody on that review board. And I don't know who it would be, so you're going to have to kind of, ask around on that. I personally don't have an interest in whoever that is, but I do think their input is important. And the last thing I'm going to say about the plan is that most times what I find is that when we do grants or when we start talking about grants or we start talking about resources, people want to, they misunderstand that it's not exactly free money, that there are some responsibilities and some requirements that come along with that, not just for our funding source, but also in terms of the expectation for them to stay in the town and use it to actually build and strengthen the business community. So what I would want to kind of make sure we highlight somewhere in our conditions is reaffirming, whether it's a pledge or a commitment, that small business intends to stay and they want to grow and build in a community, and they're not just going to take the grant, expand, and then decide they want to go hang out in Loudoun County. Okay, no offense, but we love Loudoun County, but that's all I wanted to.
And I think to that point as well, I think one of the things probably worth considering in the case of certain grants that may be supporting business, real estate improvement, et cetera, is taking a model that one of the U.S. agency uses, which is that an amount is provided, but it's not provided in cash. The EDA would then have some oversight in terms of fulfilling that invoice as they come in.
To have a governance structure, like a strong governance structure. I like that. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead.
Okay. One, I was going to say, just to piggyback off of the chair, I like the sentence with regard to all recipients receiving mandatory counseling, ensuring that's not uncommon for a grant program. And then also, I'm not sure if that's what you meant when you were saying, typically with a grant, you would provide a status report or an update, either monthly or quarterly, and either the funds could be given in pieces and or it's part of an agreement that you make in receiving them, that you'll give a status report as to how the funds are used. So every dime is accounted for.
Yeah, actually, the one agency that I'm referencing example of is the U.S. Trade and Development Agency, for instance. What they'll do is that if a company comes for a request to receive a grant for, let's say, a feasibility study or for some work to be performed, they will grant the amount, but when it's time for payment to the consultants, it is the agency which will make that payment.
To the vendor.
To the vendor, right?
Right.
And so that I think is, it will be a significant piece in stamping this EDA in terms of abiding by strong governance.
Yeah, okay. All right, I want to move on to the EIN website and email policy. Now, we did cover the website and the EIN. I know we already kind of covered some of those things, but real quick, I do want to cover the email policy because I don't want us to go too far over our time. Director Lofton, you want to cover just some of those three since you introduced the email policy?
Excuse me, Director Nathan, did you want to do, save that for, since I don't have, I mean, it has been so long, but I don't have.
Yeah, we can, yeah.
Whatever.
Oh, you mean, which one?
The intergovernmental.
Oh, yeah, let's wait till next.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine, thank you. The EIN, we do have the EIN number, that was done, right?
Correct.
And then the website, we're still working on the website, right? We haven't got anywhere with it, but you want to tell them what the website is, Director Lofton? I think we said Town of Dumfries.
Yes, it's the townofdumfrieseda.com, so if anybody has any questions, there is functionality to at least fill out the contact us form. We'd love to at least introduce ourselves to you, or,
Ask a question?
please.
So I did do a little bit of cursory research, and I found that a lot of the EDAs had .gov email addresses and websites.
Right.
I don't know if our .com is going to present any kind of issue. I know this was talked about a little bit in the last meeting, but
Yeah, so basically, you can't just, you just can't create a .gov. You have to go through some channels to be able to get that
Right.
designation. You could do a .org, and we, at the time, just didn't think a .org was done. But the other thing you're probably seeing is that those EDAs are on that particular governmental agency's direct landing page. And we are. So we can certainly request that there be a link provided under our page, because we do have an EDA page.
I
but-
guess I'm just a little, I mean, I know we're new and we're starting up and everything.
Sure.
Eventually, but if I have business cards and I go to different folks and they see my business card and it has this .com.
Oh, I don't disagree.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. And I think what was discussed at present is that this is the temporary
Got it. I
request.
understand.
You know,
To rehash.
yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
Things change on a dime.
Okay.
Right.
And then the last is the email policy. I'm assuming everyone has got a draft of the email policy.
Yeah, let's go with that. Looks good.
Yeah, I would like to, before we vote on this, I would like to hold until the next meeting for Director Brown, so he has an opportunity to review anything and add any other additional items that we may need to discuss, okay? All right.
May I also ask, I think that it would be a good idea that this is reviewed by counsel to ensure that, well, legal counsel, the town attorney, to at least ensure that we are not including or omitting anything that may also need to be covered.
Well, that's something we all can agree on here in terms of a consensus. However, I want to be careful how we use the town attorney's time, because I don't know what the relationship in terms of what we can ask her and what her time looks like. So I don't mind having that. I don't mind doing that if that's what the board wants to do, but I would take a consensus of that now.
I would support that because I guess you don't know what you don't know, and we don't want to miss something that's.
I support it as well.
What do we, what is the town attorney reviewing?
Engaging the town attorney for the email.
Draft email policy, yeah, I'm fine with it, yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, because the other part is we're also asking that each board member sign a copy that they've received it and for future board members. And so I want to make sure this is sort of like what you might give employees, if you will. So I think it's pretty important.
Yeah.
But at present, I think this is a good base for us to use, correct?
Yeah.
Obviously.
I
We know
will.
how to conduct ourselves using email.
Right. No, I agree. Okay, so that will take care of that. Everyone can review that. We'll push that for a vote, hopefully by next time. And then we're gonna just deal with the new business. The only thing we're gonna talk about is a working session for the new business. I was saying that maybe next July 1, we would do it at 6 o'clock. Can everybody come in at 6?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And then we would focus on specifically the CONOPS plan so that we can try to get that voted on so we can get some of the other committees, moving in that direction.
Correct.
All right.
Dashboard.
And the dashboard, yeah.
I'm sorry, do we need some kind of agenda or anything for that 6 o'clock meeting?
You mean the one separately from the regular meeting?
Right.
Okay, yeah. So we'll
We need some kind of agenda.
Okay.
And we need to publish it 5 days prior to.
Right.
Just
That one has to be 5 days, the other one's 3?
It's all at least 3.
Okay.
3.
Okay, yeah. You guys keep me true.
Yeah.
Well, 5 is not bad for us.
Well, that's what is our CONOPS, I think, and that's what.
Yeah, I had 7 or
You
something.
have 7,
Submit
so-
the stuff 7 days
Yeah,
to
so
get that
let's
extra room.
talk about it at that time, and then we'll come up with an actual time frame. So everybody take a look at that and keep that in mind. That's one of the things that hopefully
you're
we'll be able to vote on next week.
Yeah.
You're suggesting that we just submit agenda items to the working session?
Working session, yes, specifically for CONOPS,
Right.
so we can make sure that we are all on the same page on that, yeah. And the dashboard.
For the dashboard.
Okay, so if we have any other suggested agenda items, we need to submit them 10 days before July 1st, just as we would the regular
No,
meeting.
we have not voted or haven't moved on the time frame of the policy for submitting agenda items just yet. That CONOPS plan has that item listed there. I want us to sit down and just discuss how we really want to go after, making the agenda more effective for our team. The CONOPS does that, and it covers a couple other things that I thought were important to deal with, like committee formations and some other items. So that's just a working session for that.
I understand, and I heard you say the CONOPS plan and the dashboard are the suggested
Topic.
agenda
Yes,
items.
yes.
Okay, I'm just saying if there was a suggestion for an additional item,
Will we have time? Will there be time for that? If there's time for another one, yeah, but I really want to get through so we can vote on those things so we don't have those, we have that operating rhythm in place before
Okay.
the end of the summer.
And if need be, I assume we can have a standalone working
Yeah.
session, even if we don't complete, so we don't have to wait at least maybe about a week or two later, so we don't have to wait another 30 days.
Is that, can we do that? Can we have, so we have a working session next July 1st.
July 1st.
We have another just working session on like the 14th without the formal board meeting?
That's up to you all if you decide to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Let's try to, I want to try to get us out of here.
Whole business days to host that agenda.
Okay. Bank account. I want to quickly touch on the bank account real quick because Director Lofton pointed that out to me. It's hard to talk about grants if you don't have a place to put it. So,
I would say,
let's talk about that. We may be able to put that on the next working session too, if you
Yes.
need to. But
okay. I just wanted clarification. I wasn't suggesting
Oh, no,
adding
it's cool,
anything,
it's
by the
cool.
way, on the working session. But in a nutshell, it is my understanding that any contract with anyone outside of the town of Dumfries is a contract in and of itself that may or may not require a request for proposal. But it certainly falls under the Procurement Act because, again, any contract. So while it seems very obvious, a bank account is in fact a contract with an outside party. So I think I just wanted to ask the board's permission to begin the discovery of establishing a bank account. Now that we have a tax ID number, and we're moving forward with grant funding and things like that, there's at least an operating account, a reserve account, and then a grant account, I believe would be needed, and that's been mentioned in previous meetings.
Operating account, reserve account, and grant account.
Correct.
Three different accounts.
At least, that's my suggestion.
You know, we can do that by consensus to initially start that. We're not voting on an account right now, right?
Not at all. I just want approval, a directive, so that I'm not acting outside of the board's overall intention.
Well, let's put it to a motion so that way it'll be official. So do you want to put a motion on that?
Well, I'm asking for it, so
You want to make a motion?
not if I'm asking, because I'm going to do it.
So I moved that we set up 3 separate accounts.
No, we're just starting the business search, bank search, right?
Yes.
Oh, so we're not setting up the accounts?
Yeah.
We're just
No,
starting the
'cause-
bank search.
Yeah, because I believe there's more to be done, whether it is posting for proposals.
So I moved
Or
that
not.
I moved that we begin our bank search.
I second the motion.
Okay, it's ready. Move to second. Any questions?
I just want to specify that if we may amend the motion, that Ebony Lofton or the treasurer will begin the work
Yes.
for the bank account
Okay,
search.
that's fine. Anything else? All right, could we call for the question?
I would like to just clarify the motion, that the motion is to begin the search for the bank account,
For the bank,
for the bank.
by the treasurer.
By the treasurer. Director.
Director Spence,
Aye.
Director Garber,
Aye.
Vice Chair Harris,
Aye.
Treasurer Lofton,
Yes.
and Chair Daly.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Perfect. Right along here. So now we are in the EDA chairman's report. Now, guys, when we do the report, because we're at 8 o'clock now, I'm just going to ask everybody to keep their comments to about 3 minutes, if that's okay. And then we'll do the staff report. Very, very simple. I'm just very grateful for all the work everybody's put in so far. I know we're still doing a whole lot of internal conversations and structures and laying a foundation. I will simply say that part of the community vision here is to maintain a reminder that, you know, we are trying to anticipate the needs of the community here, as well as opening ourselves up to conversations that will inevitably lead to some successes for the town, for the council, but also for the region. Having said that, I do want us to kind of focus on some of the things that are happening right now in terms of the country, in terms of the layoffs, mass layoffs that are impacting some of our area, as well as some of the challenges that some of the small businesses need to overcome in terms of making sure that they can keep up with the high cost of gas and products. So I'm putting all that stuff in there in terms of the quality of life, because I think it's important that at some place, or there is a place, that we do discuss those things. And hopefully as we continue going through and we get this rhythm down packed, and I know that Director Harris is going to get us there, that we'll have a chance to open it up for our community of small business to start receiving some information from them. That's all I got right now. And then I'm going to just go ahead and start. Actually, we'll start down to the left to Director Ben, and then finish down here.
Well, I don't have much to add to what you said, other than the fact that, again, I want to congratulate and thank my colleagues for the work they've done in putting together their respective documents. And I'm happy to see that we're building momentum, and we're going to be having this working session, which will really get us a chance to really roll up our sleeves and really focus on moving things further.
So there's just one quick thing I wanted to mention was when I read the CONOPS, I really liked the philosophy, and it said something about we're here to, this is not a self-serving position. This is a position to serve the people and serve the community. I think it's very important, and I appreciate the fact that it was put up front. The first thing I read when I opened it to do my read ahead was a reminder that we are here to serve the community, not a self-serving position. And I think if we read move forward with that understanding, I think we'll be golden. Also, just want to thank, of course, everybody for their hard work, and as always, thanking the town staff. Like, they just do a phenomenal job. So it's amazing to watch them, put on a state of the town, and then turn around and put on the council meeting, and turn around and put on the EDA. I mean, they just, so congratulations to you guys, and I think they just do a fantastic job. That's all I have.
Director Lofton.
Okay, so I had one quick question with regard to the Business Incubator Committee, if I could take a point of privilege. Did you need the board, or do we need to approve in some way so that you two can move forward, or did we already do that by consensus?
We already proved that by consensus. We're just updating until we get a final formation of it.
Okay. So I want to also say I really think that everyone here is where they should be, in a great place as far as what we all add to the EDA. As the chair mentioned, this is something, the first of its kind. I've been in Dumfries for 14 years, but I drove buses here back in '08, so I know the area very well, and it is really good to see. It was also good to attend the Small Business Appreciation reception. That was the day before the State of the Town address. I got a chance to meet a number of small business owners who shared some concerns and needs, like workforce access and exposure, since they can't afford an $8,000 billboard bill or whatever. So I think we have some opportunity, obviously, on a very organic level to support our existing businesses here, and I'm excited about doing that work. Thanks.
So I just wanted to double down on what Director Spence said, which is, I'm glad that the beginning part of that ConOps, the philosophy resonated with you, because that's very much intentional, that we all should be here in a self-serving role with, really removing ourselves and our personal, whatever it is, our personal goals, our aspirations from this, or whatever we want to do. Like, we really thinking about the community and putting that in front of us, and that is the priority. I think as long as we keep that at the forefront, like you said, we will be golden. And so I'm just really about being selfless and really seeing where we can take Dumfries as a whole and putting the community first. So, yeah.
Thank you. Next, we'll do our staff report.
Mr. Chair and directors of the authority, I wanted to share briefly share some information with you, echoing Treasurer Lofton's comments about the Business Appreciation Celebration. Actually, the Town Council declared by proclamation May as Business Appreciation Month, and related to that, hosted on May 28th the Business Appreciation Celebration at the Showplace, and there were several local businesses there, and also 7 businesses were given certificates for their contributions to various town events and activities, discounted party rentals for events, support for fireworks, for town fireworks, donations for cleanups, support for coat drives, et cetera. And we were really happy to see Treasurer Lofton there at the event. A second item is the small area plan that the town is completing. And our small area plan consultant, Kimberly Horn, requests a joint meeting with the Town of Dumfries Economic Development Authority and Planning Commission to ground the planning effort in both implementation realities and local priorities from the outset. The meeting would be between 60 and 90 minutes. And just as a refresher, the small area plans are for the Gateway area, which is the southern part of the town and includes the southern shopping centers, both Triangle and Dumfries shopping centers, Main Street, and the Waterfront District. And the purpose of the meeting will be, again, to ground the small area plans in both implementation realities and local priorities from the outset, to understand the priorities and perspectives of the EDA and the Planning Commission members before recommendations begin to take shape. And thirdly, to uncover critical perspectives, reduce the risk of conflicting assumptions by meeting with both groups at the same time, and encourage a coordinated approach to plan development and future recommendations. With your support, the plan is to hold the meeting between June 22nd and July 1st. There have been some identified conflicts on June 23rd, June 24th, and July 1st, which is the next EDA meeting. And if there are any other conflicts, please let us know, and we will pass those on to the consultants and share those with the Planning Commission to identify a date that works for both the Planning Commission and the EDA. Finally, I would like to share that last evening, the Town Council approved a resolution authorizing the town manager to request the release of Old Stagecoach Road right-of-way to be conveyed to the town at no cost. And that is an initial step toward supporting the development of a commercial development that would include a grocery at on Old Stagecoach Road at the Potomac Shores Parkway. And a portion of that roadway is needed for that development. And so this is the initial step for that process. In the future, probably in August, the town council will consider a rezoning and also conditional use permits related to that project as well. I'm sorry, I'll also just mention that we anticipate demolition of the structures on the waterfront district property within the next few weeks. Actually, the process has begun, and the environmental assessment process is continuing under the Brownfields grant that was obtained by the town, and additional assessments will be required based on the additional uses that the town is proposing that would include commercial and potentially residential uses. I'm happy to respond to any questions.
I just had a quick question. That small area plan, is that the same plan that we need to provide for in the strategic comprehensive plan? They want to do it jointly with Ms. Kimberly? Is that the same one?
So within our comprehensive plan that was adopted by council, we identified these small area plans that are now being developed with the assistance of a consultant, Kimley Horn.
Yeah.
And so what is being requested is a joint meeting with the EDA and the Planning Commission to discuss priorities and provide guidance in the development of those, the three small area plans.
And that's the implementation, the local priorities, and the critical perspectives.
Yes, yes.
Got it.
Yes.
All right. And just so I can kind of do a consensus, will you be able to send an email so we can shoot over times and dates, everyone, so we don't have to do it here?
Yes, and in fact, we'll endeavor to send a poll to try to identify the best date.
That will work. And then my last question is there any way that, I know that Director Brown was asking for a list of small businesses at some point. Mm-hmm. Did we ever make headway with that so that we could have that, or is there a problem?
I don't anticipate there being a problem. Yes, we can.
Okay, that was the only because I know we talked about the small business celebration. Okay, that's all I had. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, it seems like we don't have any more questions. How do we do? Well, 15 minutes, 14. Yeah, we're here. I want to say thank you, everybody, for at least tuning into the meeting. I'm looking forward to a lot more of these sessions, a lot more conversations, and a lot more, development and successes to come. So I'm going to adjourn it here and have a good June, I guess. Thank you.